My phone rang on a quiet Tuesday night. No hello, no how are you, just my mother's voice asking flat and impatient where her money was. That was it. After a year of covering payments, bills, and every excuse she made for my brother, she called me like I was a missed transaction. I didn't argue. I didn't apologize. I just listened, feeling something inside me finally snap into place. Because that call didn't hurt. It clarified everything. And the truth behind it started long before that moment. Before I explain what followed, tap like and comment your city if family boundaries ever cost you too. I didn't grow up thinking my family was broken. From the outside, we looked like any other household in a quiet American city. A modest house, a small front yard my mom tried to keep neat, family photos lined up along the hallway, frozen smiles from different years that almost told the truth. My real childhood ended the morning my father died. I was 6. One moment he was there, moving around the kitchen, filling the house with noise and warmth, and the next, the world went silent. After that, everything felt hollow, like our home had too many rooms and not enough air. My mother Evelyn survived in the way some people do, by closing parts of herself off. Not long after she met Michael. He wasn't loud or charming, but he noticed things. He noticed when I stopped talking mid-sentence. He noticed when I started doing my own laundry before I was tall enough to reach the machines comfortably. When my brother Noah was born, the center of gravity in our house shifted. It wasn't dramatic at first, just small things. My needs became flexible. His became urgent. Dinner times revolved around his moods. Weekends revolved around his interests. I learned early that if I wanted peace, I had to be easy. Michael tried to keep things balanced. He showed up to my school events, drove me to my martial arts classes, sat on uncomfortable folding chairs just so I wouldn't scan the room and feel forgotten. My mom said she appreciated it, but her actions never changed. Noah was sensitive. Noah was special. Noah needed more. By the time I was a teenager, I understood the rules even if no one had said them out loud. I was expected to be capable, self-sufficient, grateful for scraps of attention. Noah was allowed to drift. I left for college with a suitcase full of clothes and a quiet promise to myself I wouldn't need anyone's permission to build a life. I worked part-time jobs, skipped trips I couldn't afford, and learned how to be steady. Michael was proud of me in ways he never said directly. My mom tolerated my independence. When Michael died suddenly, years later, it felt like losing my father all over again. But this time I saw the consequences clearly. Without him, there was no buffer, no voice reminding my mother that she had 2 children. That was when the calls started. Small requests at first, then regular ones. I stepped in without hesitation because that's what I had always done. And for a while, I told myself it was just temporary. After Michael passed, the house felt smaller every time I visited. Not physically, emotionally. The walls were the same, but the air was heavier, thick, with unspoken expectations. My mom stopped asking how I was doing. Instead, she asked if I'd had a chance to help out this month. It was always framed gently, like a favor. But favors don't repeat themselves on a schedule. I told myself it made sense. She was older now, widowed again. Noah was figuring things out. That phrase became her shield. Every time I questioned why he wasn't working, why he was still living at home, why he seemed so comfortable doing nothing, she had an answer ready. He was stressed. He was sensitive. The world wasn't built for someone like him. So I stepped in. At first, it was just covering a few bills. Then it became regular payments. I fixed things around the house Michael would have handled without a second thought. When the fridge broke, I replaced it. When the roof leaked, I paid to have it patched. I didn't announce it. I didn't ask for credit. I just did what needed to be done the way I always had. Noah barely acknowledged any of it. He slept late, played games, talked about plans that never seemed to materialize. At family gatherings, he'd scroll on his phone while my mom hovered nearby, ready to defend him from questions no one even asked. If I hinted that maybe he could help out, her tone changed instantly. "You don't understand him," she'd say. "You never have." That was when I started to feel something deeper than exhaustion. It wasn't anger yet. It was a low, constant burn, a sense that I was being quietly repositioned not as a daughter but as a resource. The turning point didn't come with a scream or a fight. It came on an ordinary afternoon during a visit that was supposed to be quick. My mom was organizing paperwork at the kitchen table, stacks of envelopes spread out like she was preparing for something important. I asked what she was working on. Just getting things in order, she said, not looking up. Something about the way she said it made my stomach tighten. I pressed gently, and that's when she mentioned the will. Not formally, almost casually. She explained that everything would go to Noah someday. The house, whatever savings were left, all of it. She said it like it was obvious, like it required no explanation. I waited for the rest, for the part where she'd mention me. She didn't. When I asked carefully, calmly, she sighed. Told me I didn't need to worry because I was doing fine. Noah, on the other hand, would need stability, support, protection. In that moment, years of small sacrifices lined up in my mind like evidence I'd ignored. The payments, the repairs, the emotional labor. I wasn't helping because I was needed. I was helping because I was expected to. And suddenly it was clear. This wasn't about love or fairness. It was about entitlement. I didn't react the way she probably expected. There was no argument, no raised voice, no dramatic walkout. I nodded, helped her stack the papers back into neat piles, and finished the visit like nothing had changed. On the drive home, I barely turned the radio on. I needed the silence. I needed to hear my own thoughts without her voice rearranging them. That night, I lay awake replaying the conversation. Not the words themselves, but the tone, the certainty, the way she'd already decided my role in the family without ever asking if I agreed to it. I realized something that made my chest feel strangely calm. I had been acting like a temporary solution to a permanent problem. A few days later, I went back to see her again. I told myself I needed clarity, even though part of me already knew what I'd hear. We sat at the kitchen table, the same one where I'd done homework as a kid while she hovered over Noah. I asked her directly this time if she really believed leaving everything to him was fair. She didn't hesitate. "You're stronger," she said. "You always have been. You'll be fine." I asked her if she understood what that meant, that I'd been paying bills, covering costs, stepping in every time something broke or went wrong. She waved it off like I was listing chores instead of sacrifices. "That's different," she said. "You chose to help." That was the moment something collapsed inside me. Not loudly, not violently, just a quiet internal shift like a support beam finally giving way after years of pressure. I asked her one last question, whether she loved us the same. She didn't answer right away. When she did, her words landed clean and sharp. She said Noah needed her more, that her love was different because the situation was different. She didn't say she loved me less. She didn't have to. I left without saying goodbye. That night, I opened my banking app and stared at the monthly transfer I'd set up after Michael died. The number wasn't small, but it wasn't the amount that mattered. It was what it represented: permission, expectation, control. I hovered over the screen longer than I expected, not because I was unsure, but because I was letting myself feel the weight of the decision. Then I canceled it. No announcement, no warning. I didn't call my mother or text my brother. I didn't explain. I simply stopped. The silence afterward felt unfamiliar, almost dangerous, like the moment after you step off solid ground. But underneath that fear was something steadier: relief. For the first time, I wasn't reacting. I was choosing, and I knew it wouldn't take long for them to notice. It took exactly 1 month, not 3 weeks, not 6. 30 days to the day after I canceled the payments, my phone lit up while I was making dinner. I remember because the pan was sizzling oil popping softly, the smell of garlic filling my apartment. For the first time in a long while, I was cooking without rushing, without mentally calculating what bill was coming next. I almost didn't answer. The name on the screen sat there like a dare. I wiped my hands on a towel and picked up. "Where's my money?" my mother said. No greeting, no pause, no warmth. Just that question, sharp and immediate, like I'd failed to complete a transaction. I stood there, phone pressed to my ear, listening to my own breathing. In the background, I could hear the familiar sounds from her house, a television on too loud, the faint clink of a bottle being set down. Someone else was there. "I didn't get the transfer," she continued, irritation creeping into her voice. There must be a problem with your bank. There it was. Not are you okay? Not did something happen. Just an assumption that the money would come, that it always would. There's no problem, I said. The silence that followed was thick. I imagined her blinking, recalibrating. What do you mean, she asked. I have bills due. I canceled it, I replied. Her breath hitched just slightly. Then the anger rushed in to fill the gap. You what? Her voice rose. You can't just do that. We depend on that money. I looked down at my stove and turned the burner off. The food could wait. This couldn't. I helped because I chose to, I said. I'm not doing that anymore. Her tone shifted instantly. Gone was the irritation. In its place came something familiar, something rehearsed. The wounded voice. Rose, you know your brother is going through a hard time, she said. This isn't about you. I almost laughed at how predictable it was. No, I said calmly, this is exactly about me. That's when Noah's voice cut in distant but unmistakable. He was close enough to hear, close enough to comment. What's her problem now? He muttered. My mother didn't even lower the phone. Don't start, she snapped at him, then turned her attention back to me. You're being dramatic. This is family. Family helps. Family doesn't draft a will cutting one child out and expect that child to fund the consequences, I said. That landed. Her voice hardened. You went through my things. You told me, I said. Like it was nothing. She exhaled sharply. I did what I had to do. Noah needs security. And I don't, I asked. There was a pause. Not because she didn't understand the question, but because she didn't want to answer it. You're doing fine, she said finally. You have a good job. You're independent. You always have been. I closed my eyes. That wasn't an accident, I said. That was survival. She scoffed. Oh, don't turn this into something it's not. Noah laughed in the background, a short, dismissive sound. You always think you're better than everyone else, he said. Like we owe you something. I felt something cold settle in my chest. Not anger, certainty. I don't think I'm better, I said. I think I'm done. That's when my mother snapped. After everything I've done for you, she shouted. This is how you repay me. I leaned against the counter, steadying myself. Tell me, I said. What exactly have you done for me lately? She stuttered words tangling over each other. Then she found her footing again. I gave you life, she said. I raised you, and I raised myself, I replied. You taught me how to disappear quietly. Congratulations, I learned the lesson. Her voice dropped low and dangerous. You're selfish. I smiled, though she couldn't see it. No, I said. I'm setting boundaries. There was movement on her end of the line, a door opening, footsteps. Then another voice joined in, bright and intrusive. Is that Rose Bella? Asked. Oh my God, is this about the money? I closed my eyes again. Of course she was there. She thinks she can just cut us off, my mother said, like I wasn't listening. Bella laughed. That's messed up. Noah was counting on that, counting on it, like it was income, like it was owed. That's exactly the problem, I said. You were counting on something that was never yours. You're ruining this family, my mother said. No, I replied. You already did. I just stopped paying for it. Her breathing grew uneven. I could hear the panic now finally breaking through the entitlement. You can't abandon us, she said. What are we supposed to do? I thought about all the nights I'd gone without things I wanted so they could have what they demanded. The vacations they took while I stayed home. The repairs I paid for while Noah slept until noon. You have a house, I said. You have choices. You have the son you chose. That was the wrong thing to say. I never loved you the way I love him, she spat. He needs me. You never did. The words didn't hit the way they would have a year ago, or even a month ago. They didn't break me. They freed me. Then this makes sense, I said softly. You made your choice. Now live with it. She started crying then, loud, dramatic sobs, the kind meant to pull people back in. You're heartless, she said between gasps, after all my sacrifices. I waited until the crying slowed. Don't call me again, I said. I'm not your backup plan. I'm not your bank. And I'm not responsible for fixing what you refuse to face. She screamed my name as I pulled the phone away. I ended the call. The apartment was silent except for the hum of the refrigerator. My dinner sat untouched, cooling in the pan. I stood there for a long moment, phone still in my hand, half expecting it to ring again. It did. Text messages this time, one after another. Accusations, guilt, threats. Noah sent one too, telling me I was destroying everything, that Mom was crying because of me. I blocked them. All of them. I sat down at my small kitchen table and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Not triumph, not revenge, peace. They had lost control, and I had gained my life back. The weeks after that call were quieter than I expected, not empty quiet. There were no more sudden demands, no late-night guilt disguised as concern. My phone stayed still. At first, I kept checking it out of habit, like my body hadn't caught up to the decision my mind had already made. I heard bits and pieces through relatives who meant well. The house felt heavier without my money propping it up. Repairs were postponed. Plans were suddenly on hold. My mother complained that things were hard now that life had become unfair. Noah was still figuring things out. Nothing about them changed, except one thing: I was no longer carrying it. I redirected the money I'd been sending every month into my own future. Not impulsively, intentionally. A savings account with my name on it. Goals that didn't involve rescuing anyone. The relief wasn't loud or dramatic. It showed up in small ways. I slept through the night. I cooked meals without anxiety. I stopped bracing myself before opening messages. One evening, I found an old photo tucked into a drawer. Michael and me standing outside that house years ago, his arm around my shoulder, his smile proud but quiet. I realized something then. He hadn't protected me so I could keep sacrificing myself. He'd protected me so I could eventually choose better. I didn't feel guilty anymore. Guilt only works when you believe you owe someone access to your life. I didn't. I had given enough. Letting go didn't make me cruel. It made me honest. And honesty, it turns out, is lighter than obligation. Walking away didn't make me heartless. It made me free. Love isn't measured by how much you give until there's nothing left. And setting boundaries isn't revenge, it's survival. If this story feels uncomfortably familiar, you're not weak, and you're definitely not alone. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stop paying the price for someone else's choices. If you've ever had to choose yourself over family expectations, share your story in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe. More stories like this are coming.